Now that we found our pan, what we're going to do is we're going to take our egg and rice mixture and we're going to pour it into our pan without burning yourself or dropping the bowl. That's important. And then you're going to take a little bit of onion that you have already prepped, because I already did that. That's why the station looks so clean and not so messy. Hollywood magic, everyone. Okay, you're going to put a little bit of onion in there just for some flavor. Then you're going to add in the hot dogs. I know, cringe, it's gross, super processed meats. At least I didn't make Spam sushi, am I right? Yeah, okay, that was totally fine. Anyway, you're going to add in some soy sauce now. And then you're going to let that cook in the pan all together. And then it'll come up to be a stir fry. If I did it right. I think I did. Could be wrong. I've done wrong before. So you make sure you stir it up, get everything blended together, because you don't want soy sauce to sit in one area because it's a very strong ingredient and it'll be too salty. Which is another tip I have to add. Don't use too much soy sauce. It may be delicious, but please don't use too much of it. It's super salty. Anyway, like me when I'm in a bad mood. Okay, so we're going to get this out of the way because it's in the way. And then we're going to move to our chicken udon stir fry that we have going on over here, which is a traditional meal that they would normally eat but cannot since they've been put in these camps. And this is what they were accustomed to eating for a really long time while they were in Japan. Okay, so first thing you're going to add is your broccoli. You're going to just dump in the pan. You're going to add your onions. And those are the first two ingredients you put in because you kind of want those to sweat together. Broccoli is a harder ingredient, and so it takes a little bit longer for it to break down and get the kind of softness that you want in a stir fry. And then you're going to put in your carrots and your cabbage second after these have cooked down a little bit and your onions are translucent. That is important. Your onions have to be translucent. Then once that all gets done, we're going to add in our udon noodles, which will bring the whole dish together. Those get added in last because they've already been cooked beforehand and you don't want them to get soggy and mushy, and it's just gross. Just don't do that. So, yeah. Now while that's cooking, it's time for a fun little history lesson. Alright. Okay, wait for my trusty map to drop in. Alright. So, this is Japan. These are the migration patterns immigrants took to America. The place they dropped in was Angel Island. I know that doesn't look like an island, but actually between San Francisco and another little town, there is a big lake, and there's an island in the middle of it that's Angel Island. They also island hopped. They went from Japan to Hawaii and then came back up to Angel Island. It was shorter to go this way, of course. Now, let's start at the beginning with Japan. Alright, in 1660, this was, or not 660 BC, this was the first documented founding of Japan. It is the year that historians acknowledge as the founding of Japan, of course. Then we get to 1886, and what happened in this time was when Japanese people started first migrating to America. Of course, Angel Island wasn't here yet, hadn't been established, so they were kind of going all over into America, and it was mainly for the gold rush or just to live a better life or find the American dream. Next we come to 1910. This is when Angel Island officially opened, and although people say it was kind of like, they compare it to Ellis Island, it was nothing of the sort. Essentially what they were doing was they were holding Oriental people or people coming over from Europe who went through Angel Island, and they were interrogating them because they were afraid, as we all learned in class, of people of the Japanese, Chinese, anyone of Oriental descent taking American jobs. That was the thing they were most afraid of, so they would hold them and interrogate them for days instead of going through really fast like people did with Ellis Island. Then we come to 1942. In 1942, the Immigration Act, or Johnson-Reed Act, is placed into law which limits the annual number of Asian immigrants to 2% of the existing number in America. Essentially, this means that there's no more immigration coming to America via Oriental status. So, because there wasn't very much to begin with in America, there isn't very many coming in. It's basically stopped. Now we come to 1940. In 1940, Asian Island is officially closed. So that means immigration officially has stopped. There's no more people coming in from Japan, China, because they can't get through Angel Island, which is the place that they had been coming through for centuries, or not centuries, years. Goodness, mixing up my timelines. Anyway, that's happened. Then we get to 1941. December 7th, 1941, known as the day that will live in infamy, quoted FDR. Pearl Harbor, the naval base in Hawaii, is bombed, and 10 weeks later, the Executive Order 9066 is approved by the President, which says that in 1942, Japanese internment camps become legal. So that means the Japanese are now being housed in places, not really even housed, like actually they had to build their own places to stay. But where they are housed in different places because the U.S. is worried about espionage and spies. So that happens. And then finally, 1946, the last internment camp closes in March, and that means that the Japanese have been kind of excused from all of this, and so it's a good thing because now there's no more internment camps, and people aren't being accused of spying. And fun fact, the Japanese were actually never found to have been accused of spying on anybody because they didn't, so it was mostly other people of other ethnicities that were spying during World War II. So, yeah. Immigration stopped. Fun times. Now, we get to what happened in America. These orange states right here are the states where internment camps were held. And I don't know if you can see, but there's green dots on the map too. Those were relocation cities where they were moved from places in California where they had mostly lived on the West Coast and stayed and homed in these places. And then if they didn't have enough room in the cities, they put them in specific camps in the states. And what had happened was, if you'll look at my lovely diorama here, I have chess pieces. Sorry, I'm not that talented. They were taken from their homes because U.S. military men came and took them from their homes, and they had to stay in places like the desert. And oftentimes when they got there, there were no housing there to begin with. They had to build their own stuff that the U.S. had provided, like tin, provided by my extra gum wrappers, and wood, displayed by these pencils. So, yeah, good times. Now we're going to get up and we're going to move back to our kitchen. By this point, your onions should be translucent, and you should be able to add in the udon noodles, your cabbage, and your carrots. Remember the order though, you want to put in your carrots and your cabbage first, the udon always go in last. So I'm putting in some beautiful red cabbage for some color, because color is always nice, and then these pre-shaved carrots, because I'm lazy and I didn't feel like cutting baby carrots. And have you ever tried cutting a cylindrical object before? Yeah, it's not easy, and I didn't want to cut myself. So we have these really pretty shaved carrots that we're going to put in. Those also help with color. They kind of give it this really pretty stir-fried effect. So yeah, now you're going to stir this all together. Make sure you stir your weenie royale, which is something that they would be served typically in camps during their time of imprisonment in the U.S. when their country thought that there were spies and thought that the Japanese were the ones that were spying. So you're going to make sure that's all stirred nice together, and it's actually looking really beautiful. It's going to be this yellowish color. It looks nice. Also, our other stir fry is coming along really beautifully. You have all the nice colors there that you're looking for. Next, you're going to add in your udon noodles. Add those in gently. They're kind of sticky. Don't burn yourself again. And to help this kind of come together, we're going to take our sesame oil again. That'll help it fry up a little bit better, get that nice stir fry flavor. and then also help everything not stick to the pan because that's bad. So you're just going to stir it a little bit, and then you're going to have to, I know how much this bothers people, but you're going to have to let it sit. You can't touch it anymore. You just let the spatula down and leave it alone. So, yeah. Overall, what happened in Japan, not in Japan, in the U.S. was, it was really terrible, and we actually ended up apologizing to them. I don't remember what president it is, but ended up apologizing to a Japanese American man who actually sued the government for the internment camps because he didn't want to leave his home, and he lost almost everything in doing so. And so it was good that we essentially apologized, but the Japanese internment thing that happened actually still stands. It was the Executive Order 9066, because the Supreme Court never actually said this wasn't constitutional, even though the district court did say that it wasn't okay. Our Supreme Court still has it, and still hasn't said it's not legal yet. So that can actually happen again. We could actually have, it's possible to have ethnicities completely uprooted out of our country and placed in internment camps on protective basis for our country if something like World War II, like the bombing of Pearl Harbor, were to happen again. So yeah. Now that that is sat for a little bit, you're going to do your final step, which is kind of fun. You're going to take a yakisoba sauce, which I made homemade. Sorry, I can't recommend you a brand or anything, but essentially what's in this is you're going to have ketchup, Worcestershire, oyster sauce, soy sauce, and sugar. It's essentially a Japanese barbecue sauce. It's really good, by the way. Highly recommend it. And you're going to put this into your stir fry, and it's going to cook your chicken and your noodles really nicely, and it's going to bring the whole dish together. So, that's it. Thank you for coming. Bye.